Everybody out there in the music development community, this is Mike coming at you, Soldier 777, and I figured to show you a video of, and I got inspired by Scott Waters' video of albums that define thrash metal. So I figured to show you a video of Christian um, hard rock and metal albums that are trendsetters or define Christian hard rock and metal, or at least albums that are this on the heavier side of rock. There's a couple albums that some may consider as hard rock or metal, but these albums help to set trends and are highly influential to other people in the hard rock and metal who play that kind of music. Let's get right to it. First we have here is Petra, More Power to You. Now, this is not a full hard rock album, but there are some hard rock elements in it, such as Second Wind, which is a great hard rock song, and another one called Disciple. This is Petra's fifth album, and the first four had some also hard rock elements, and this album sort of set a template for the next several Petra albums. That's figure I mentioned this one. Another reason why I mentioned this one is because this album, or this band, influenced other rock bands and hard rock bands. One band that they've influenced is White Cross. Scott Wenzel cited Petra as a influence several years ago. So I just figured I'd show that album. Another one I want to mention is Macedon. It's a jungle out there. The reason why I mentioned this one is because this is not really a band, it's more a project, and it is hard rock or metal. And as you may know, John Fonte left Kansas in the early mid 80s, around 83 I think it is, or 82, I'm not sure. And then he went on to produce some major Christian acts like, I believe, Sweet Comfort Band, Petra, and he did some heavier bands like Barren Cross, Ex-Sinner, Guardian, and bands like that. So a few years later, after he left Kansas, never producing several albums, he formed this band Macedons, which is more a project. So I guess this is one of the first what we call project albums, I guess you can call it, back in Christian music history. Next up we have a early album, and the reason why I mentioned this one is because this is this is a European band. I figured to show you Jerusalem Warrior. The reason why I show this one is, as I said, they're a European band, for one thing, so it gave us a taste of the music that's coming from the other side of the pond in Christian music, and also it's hard rock, or at least hard rock, mostly hard rock, and a lot of great tunes. Plus, this has a 11-minute epic called Sodom, which goes against homosexuality. So it's very, very in-your-face band lyrically. And it has 8 songs, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8 songs, and of course, this album sort of serves as a template for the next few of their albums. So, Jerusalem Warrior was originally released in 1981, and it's a great album, one of the best albums they could put out. What we have here is a band. I could show you the first one, but I think this would suffice. This is the Daniel Band, and this band is really from Toronto or that area. It kind of puts Christian Canadian hard rock and metal on a map, or Canada on a map for producing or coming up with great bands in Christian music. And for those of you like Rush, Triumph, Helix, April Wine, those kinds of bands, you definitely like this band. And Dan McCabe is a really good bass player too. So Day and Band Run from Darkness, really came out in 1984, and this is one of their more heavier albums. So there you have it. And also the version I got here is got the 86 remix, a Walking on Water remix, is a 10th track. So it's great to have that too. Another band, which are known to be hard rock and metal, and I'd be remiss not to mention this album, is the first. This is probably considered the first true or real hard rock heavy metal album in Christian music. This is Red's band When You Reply, and like I said, there's some like more of the middle road songs or rock songs, but 65 to 7% of this album, maybe 65-75% of this album is pretty much hard rock or metal. When You Reply, Red's band originally came out in 1978. There you have it. Next band I could have showed the debut album or the third album, which is way more popular. But this is a band, as you all know, Striper Soldier Command. I figured to show you this album, where this is the very first album I bought from Striper of any format. It was bought on cassette back in April of '86. And I believe before I bought this album, I had the first two taped off. Of course, this band sort of changed a lot of people's worldview on music and Christian music. And a lot of us were surprised by this band. Striper Soldier Command came in 1985. Of course, when many of us discovered this band back then, we became lifelong fans. But there you have it, Striper Soldier Command, originally came in 1985. Another band I want to mention is another band. It's another California band, the next band or two I'm going to be showing is like Striper. They originally came from the club scene in California back in the 80s, the Sunset Strip or the surrounding areas where bands would tour, the Troubadour, the Whiskey Go Go, the Rainbow. Most of the bands, as you may know, back in the early to mid 80s were like secular bands. There weren't too many Christian bands back at that time. But there are a few bands. The reason why I'm mentioning these bands is because there were a few bands that were Christian, and they're sort of going against the grain, going against the trend of having a positive Christian content in their performance and their music. So I figured I'd show you the first one's Holy Soldier, their debut album. And a lot of fans love this album, and a lot of great tunes. They were like more of a party, lighthearted band. They had some pretty much feel-good, positive songs, but they also had some quite serious songs as well. For example, See No Evil was about from abortion from the perspective of the baby. The Rain Comes Down, which talks about the evil and the focusing of sin in society and the end times. And yeah, there you have it. This is the original A&M records. I got here in my hand here, the original version. And this is the Rox Records version that came out in 2019. There you have it. So, Holy Soldier, great album. And this next band is another one I sort of had their beginnings at the Sunset Strip. I figure I mentioned these guys as well as Guardian, another great band. The first three albums are probably their best ones, in my opinion. So they also had their humble beginnings on the Sunset Strip back in that time. They're a Christian band. I think originally started around 82, 83, and this originally first watched came out in 1989. And it's got a lot of great tunes on this one. And they were label mates with Striper on Enigma Records as well, with Striper, Mass, and Barren Cross. So there you have it. Another band I'm going to show you is another Canadian band, which is Siloam, Sweet Destiny. Now, the reason why I mentioned this band because A, they're a Canadian band, another band helped put Canada on the map for Christian hard rock and metal. Number 2 is that Brian Lutz, so the drummer, was actually a drug dealer, I believe a prostitute. So the lyrics are streetwise lyrics, similar to what we get in a res band. And they weren't one of those feel-good bands. They had some very serious lyrics in their music, like homelessness, chemical drug abuse, that kind of thing. So very, very good band. And I got this one in there, and the next one, which is Dying to Live. There you have it. Another band I'm going to show is a band, and this band is made up from members from other bands. That's one thing. And also the band comes with a multi-talented member of the band. So I think this is the band, that's the reason why I'm showing this album, because the main member, or one of the main members, is multi-talented. So what we have here is Shout, It Won't Be Lon. So we have Chuck Kingrich from Idle Cure, and Lord Robinson, and the drummer, which is bass player and drummer, Joe Galetta, as originally from Joshua. And also Ken Temple's a multi-talented guy. He sings, plays guitar, great songs, great music, and he plays other instruments. The reason why I show this as well is because we get a first introduction to Ken Temple's talent as a singer. He's a singer, a great singer. And of course, not only did he have success in the States and Canada, but he also had great success in Europe across the pond. So he's able to have some success on both sides of the pond. There you have it. Shout Won't Be Lon, which came out in 1988. The reason why I show this other band as well is number 1 is a Canadian band. Number 2 features a great lead singer. And number 3 is one of the guitar heroes of Christian hard rock and metal. So here we have Angelica, the self-titled debut album, which features Rob Rock. We're introduced to Rob Rock. Now Rob Rock did put out Mars Project Driver in '86. And that's the reason why Dennis Cameron had him do vocals in this album, was because Andy Loing, the original singer, couldn't do the parts. So Rob Rock stepped in and for a couple of weeks and did the vocal tracking for this album. And so that's the reason why it's a transcending album. Number 2 is Dennis Cameron. He's Canadian, and he's a great guitar player, and all around great person too. Because I've seen his commentaries on YouTube, on Facebook. So yeah, so it's a great. That's the reason why. So this is considered like a transcending album in my opinion, in terms of as a Canadian talent and a great singer. Because Rob Rock was originally on Joshua and Mars Project Driver before this, and Impel Terry EP. And so there you have it. Angelica, self-titled, originally came in 1989. What we have here is, along with Angelica that I just mentioned, this is probably a band that was considered to have the one of the first early guitar heroes in the band. I don't have the original album. I got the 2004, 2005 re-recorded version. We have White Cross, their self-titled debut. This is probably in my opinion the best White Cross albums, or one of the best ones, in my opinion. I think the first 3 are the best ones. So we have White Cross, and like I said, it features a guitar prowess of Rex Carroll, an awesome guitar player, and the music's more along the lines of Rat and Van Halen. Got a kind of vibe going for it. Plus, the singer kind of sounds like Stephen Pierce at Rat. But like I say, great album. He was probably considered one of the first guitar heroes in Christian music. That's the reason why I chose the album. We got to see how talented he was, Rex Carroll, in his playing and his technique of guitar playing. There you have it. Another band that or album I mentioned would be Bloodgood, Detonation. I got the very rare 2 CD version of this album, a double album. There you have it. It's only 100 of these made in the entire world, and there you have it. The reason why I show this one is because Bloodgood, not only the feature Les Carlson was in the musical Hair, and the guitar technique of David Zafaro, another great guitar hero, but it also was one of the first bands that this is the first album that he toured for. They did an album before this, a self-titled debut, but he didn't tour for the album. They toured for this one. So the reason why I mentioned Bloodgood in the album is because they were a band, one of the first bands who did theatrics in their concerts, in their stage presentation. So this is why I showed this one. Plus, it's one of the early heavier albums as well. It wasn't like glam. It's more like had that Dio classic metal, Iron Maidenish kind of metal in their music as well. So there you have it. Bloodgood Detonation, originally came out in 1987. Another album I want to show now. As you may know, in 1986, a lot of after the success of bands like Striper, Rez, Dana Band, Jerusalem, a lot of bands started coming up with albums in '86, or they had albums before '86, but they continued on in '86, and more or less came in the woodwork more in '86. Another such band is Messiah Prophet, Master of Metal. This is more of is a heavy album, not in terms of like power metal, but more of has a classic metal type vibe. This reminds me a lot of Scorpions. I'm not sure if you get the vibe from this album. This is a great album. Messiah Prophet, Master of Metal, and also it's cool because it has sort of that comic book look to the album cover. It was a great album cover. But yeah, this came out in 1986, and as you may know, I remember back in '86 or so, or '87, Metal Ed's feature a full page spread on Christian metal, and there's like 5 bands I believe that was featured. It was Holy Soldier, Messiah Prophet, Saint, Striken, and Leviticus. There's 5 bands that was featured, and they had a little blurb on each one, and that felt really cool. And of course, I'm not sure if I had Messiah Prophet before that, the cassette, or heard the album, or after. I'm not quite sure. But like I said, this is one band that is a great album. And by the way, this gets what I'm trying to say. This is a great album. It's probably one of my favorite albums as well of all time. There you have it. Of course, continuing on with the 1986 theme. Here we have Barren Cross. This is more of our power metal, classic metal album, Rock for the King. Of course, they got the reputation of being some Iron Maiden. I don't think music itself something like Iron Maiden. It's just the way that the vocals from Mike Lee sounds like. Like I said, Barren Cross, Rock for the King, recommitted in '86. So like I said, when I heard a band, my buddy of mine had a cassette. I bought a cassette for $5, Rock for the King. And that was a pretty good album. It was an A&M version on cassette. So yeah, so when I got this band, this had a lot of songs in the album. And of course I went and bought their other albums as well. So there you have Barren Cross, Rock for the King. And this is a band I figure I'll show you, which is a classic. And it's one of my favorite albums from this band, and one of my favorite albums of all time. And there wasn't too many power metal bands, or that was full-on power metal back in that time. And they were one of the first ones, in my opinion, that was a true power metal band. And the artwork and lyrics inside may seem like it was unsafe to listen to, but like I said, it's all about your interpretation of that. Here we have Saint, Time's End. And like I said, this is a great album. I mean, you can't go wrong with Saint. I mean, you can pretty much listen to the whole album without skipping a song, or pretty much most of the album. I mean, you got In a Night, Island Prisoner, Space Cruiser Through You, and so on and so forth. And most of their songs are a good few of the songs are apocalyptic about the end times. And one thing about this album is that it touches on a theme that's not mentioned, I believe, in any other song. It's one song, Island Prisoner, is written from a perspective of the Apostle John, exile in the prison camp in the island of Patmos, a labor camp. So and they're written from his point of view. So I think it's kind of cool. So there you have it. St. Times and Region Committee 86. And when I bought this on cassette, I was hooked. And back in the day, I bought the cassette back in 86, 87. And like I said, I was hooked. That was a great album. Next one is another great band, and I believe this is probably considered one of the first albums that leaned towards progressive metal. It had that kind of vibe, and plus it was more power metal too. It was a Stickwear Rebellion. As you may know, Stickwear went on and released a few more albums after this one. So, like I say, this really came out in '88 on Intense Records. There you have it. And it featured the vocals of Petra, which is compared to artists like Jeff Tate and of Queensryche. There you have it. The last album I'm going to talk about is one of the first bands of this type of music, which is Deliverance. The subtitle would be Rigid Commitment 89. It's one of the first thrash or speed metal albums. And before 88, 89, there wasn't any thrash metal and Christian music that I was aware of. There were bands that had leaned towards that way, like the odd Bloodgood song or the odd Saint song. But like I said, this was a full-on thrash speed metal album released in '89. This is a transcending album. There you have it. Now, I want to mention some other bands too that I don't have the music for, and I'm not entirely in any of these bands, but I want to be fair and mention a few other ones as well. So here we have Bride, Show No Mercy, which is like I said, was on that 1986 time period when bands are putting out albums or got more popular, even did put out albums before '86. Tourniquet, I figure I mentioned them as well, the first album from them. Vengeance, Human Sacrifice, which is leaned towards death thrash metal, the first full-on thrash metal. Mortification, of course, they were like a death thrash album from Australia, so they were from down under. And one of the first punk bands, One Bad Pig, their debut album. So there you have it, folks. That's my thoughts on transcending albums, or albums that defined Christian metal, that kind of thing. So if you want to, and I hope we get a thread going on this, as to what albums or bands that you think are trendsetters, or what point in a band's career that helped set a certain trend, where others tend to follow suit. And I think it'd be safe to say that most of these bands I show help to influence other bands. I guess it's fair to say that, especially Striper and Petra and what else we got there, and Saint. I think they influence a lot of other bands as well. Anyway, folks, I got some ideas in mind for other videos, and I'll get to those later on. So you guys have a great day, and all the best. Bye now.